Welcome to the 8th grade math homework helper series. Tonight's homework is EL7, equation of lines, and this is day 2, the slope of a line. We'll start by taking a look at question number 2b. In each case, you're asked to find the slope of the line by using the slope formula. So let's review the slope formula. Slope formula is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. We have these two sets of coordinates over here. Keeping in mind the first coordinate is x1, y1. The second coordinate is x2, y2. We simply need to take these numbers and plug them into the formula, which gives us 9 minus 5 and 3 minus 1. And if we go ahead and do the subtraction, that gets us 4 over 2. We then can divide, and that's going to get us 2. Now let's take a look at 2f. Same idea. So we start by looking at the formula and then taking these numbers, again, x1, y1, x2, y2, x always comes first, and plugging them into this formula. If we do so, we get negative 3 minus 3 and negative 4 minus negative 2. If we go ahead and solve for those equations, negative 3 minus 3 is going to get us negative 6. And negative 4 plus 2, because the two negatives make a positive, bring us to negative 2. So we have negative 6 over negative 2, and then we can go ahead and divide. Keeping in mind, when we divide negatives, we're going to wind up with a positive. So 2 goes into 6 3 times, and it is positive 3. Now let's take a look at number 3. We're going to do A, B, and C. We need to plot these on this graph, and we are looking at 0, 0 as our starting point, which is the origin of the graph, and we are looking at m equaling 2. Now, normally we have a fraction here, so this would be 2 over something. In this case, because we don't have a number there, we can assume that it's 1. So we have 2 over 1, keeping in mind that the run is always up, the rise is always to the right. So we're going to be moving 2 up and 1 to the right. And we're going to be starting at 0, 0. So let's take a dot, start at 0, 0. And we are going to go 1, 2 up, 1 to the right. We'll then take another point to put on here, start where we left off, go 2 up, 1 to the right. And I'm going to plot my last point. Again, starting where I left off, going 2 up and 1 to the right. Okay, I can now go ahead and put an arrow on that. And I could even extend that arrow beyond my points a little bit to show where other points that it might pass through. And now let's take a look at B. We have 2 minus 5 with m equaling 4, just like before. If it's not a fraction, we can turn it into 1. And we have positive numbers, so we are moving up and to the right. And we're starting at 2 minus 5. So I always start at my origin, and then I'm going to be moving 2 on the x-axis, and then to minus 5, which puts me right here. So that's my starting point. I then am going to be moving 4 up and 1 to the right. So let's start there. 1, 2, 3, 4 up, 1 to the right. I take another point, starting where I left off. 1, 2, 3, 4 up, and 1 to the right. And now that I've plotted 3 points, I shall take my arrow and I will put that through. And there I have a line for my second point. Now let's move on to C. We have 3, 1 with m equaling 0. Again, even though it's 0, we still want to turn this into a fraction, so we put it over 1. And so that means we're going to be moving 0 up and 1 to the right. So let's see how that works out. Again, we're going to be starting at 0, 0, the origin, and I need to go 3 1s. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, and then 1 up. So that's going to put me right there. Grabbing another point, I'm going to move 0 up and 1 to the right. So I don't move up at all, and I move 1 to the right. Starting from where I left off, I move 0 up and 1 to the right. So my points for this one are pretty close together. But I still need to put my arrow on it. And there I've plotted each one. Okay, use these examples that I've given for you tonight to help you solve the additional problems on your homework. Remember, the key to success in math is not only working hard, but working smart.